veins, I've been driving this train. Years in this lane, there's no stopping this flame. Cause I came to the game and I changed it to play how I like, rearranged it to my own domain. Yeah, I got what it takes, made lots of mistakes, taking shots, skipping breaks, feeling lost, feeling great, popping off, singing straight, never stopped, never changed. All the squad here to play, and I've got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day, I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build tall, never capping space. I won't stop till I hear him say,
hey, welcome in, welcome in. We're here with Ready to Love, and it is season 8 in Dallas, episode 5, and it's navigating the non-negotiables, guys. What's up? How are you, Kimberly?
Doing well. How about you?
I'm doing well also. Thank you. As I was just saying to you earlier, there's a little bit of a storm here in Michigan. So I don't know if Calvin is having trouble with his internet, so he's not here. We know that if you watch my shorts here on YouTube, you know that Ron is entertaining about 12 people or so, half a dozen people for the Ready to Love takeover, as they're calling it. He and Stacy B and
Nice.
Co Joe, all the way from across
Yes.
the pond. Yes, yes, yes. And so we'll just go ahead and get started. How's everybody out there? Let's see. Let me check the comments here and see how everybody's doing. Oh, hey there, Alvin Watkins. How are you? Good to see you. She looks a little bit familiar. Hey there, moderator extraordinaire. Monique is in the house. Hey, Kirby. Hey there, Kirby. LMV, also member and moderator extraordinaire as well. They're both in the house. Ladies, we've been hearing a lot of good things about you out in these YouTube streets. Yeah, no better host than Ron and Stacy B. I know, right? Exactly. I agree. 100%. They got to be happy. And they're in Houston. They're in H-Town. It's nice and warm and hot, and there's all kinds of clubs to be going to. So like I said, check that short out and you'll see. I'm not going to even tell you there's a special somebody. Monique King, did you get a chance, or Ellen or Kirby, did you guys get a chance to see that short yet? Because I was trying to see who could name the most RTL members in that video. That short has got a lot. Somebody we haven't seen, has never given an interview from RTL from his season with anyone, is in that video, and I was so impressed. So I'm not going to say the name, but if you can guess, let me know. Yep. Hey, Wes, Stay Tuned is in the house. Stay Tuned Reviews, another great content creator, as well as Books with Kimberly, not to be confused with Kimberly Reviews. Hey, that name. Go ahead, Kimberly. I'm sorry. You're going to say?
Oh no, I like the name Books with Kimberly. I like that.
Yes, yes, yes. Beautiful channel. LMV says, yeah, hey, stay tuned. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. And whoever joins us along the way, the more the merrier. That's fine. Okay, so we open back up. Oh, there's somebody now. I think that's JR. Ah, there we go. Okay. Hey there, JR. How are you? We're just getting started. You okay?
Yep. Wait,
All right.
I'm well, thank you. All
Oh,
good.
good, good, all good. Excellent, excellent. Yes, we were just saying. I said, now where are the men at? Where's the he says to the she says?
Oh, yeah.
So there you are. There you are. Great. Good timing. All right, so we'll get started. Oh, and here's another. Oh, there's Ron. Okay, Ron, your ears must be burning. We were just talking about you and Stacy B
Oh.
hosting the what is that? The RTL takeover down there in H-Town.
Yeah, I'm about to go meet everybody right now. I'll put everybody on. We get
Okay,
the spot.
all right. Hey, look,
Right there. All right.
I don't know if you know it or not yet, but you're already in my shorts, your video. So we're excited to see and have you in here. You guys gonna be hanging out again today?
Yeah, I'm going to meet him right now. Hold on, that's someone calling me right now.
All right. Okay.
This guy calling me right now. Let me go.
Okay. Yeah. So guys, okay, so as I was saying, we open back up this episode. We're still at the hoedown, and of course, Red and Marvin are on the chopping block. And guys, do you think they did the right thing? Because apparently Red got the axe. Was that the best judgment in this case, guys?
Oh, for sure. I think it was. I've been counting down, waiting for him to leave for a long time. I do think Marvin would have been an okay choice as well, because I don't think he's really here for love. But I wish they would just keep him on as like the friend of the show for the entertainment, the
Oh my goodness.
entertainment part.
I've been over on his IG page, and I'm telling you, his videos over there, they may be tame, but they are making me blush. Oh my goodness. What are your thoughts, JR?
Yeah, definitely the right choice. It's been coming for a while because Red's been down there, right? And I don't think he made enough connections that were meaningful more than some of the other guys have. So I can see why. But as I've been saying as well, like Marvin would have been a better choice for me at this stage.
Oh, okay. So you say that Marvin would have been the better choice. Do
Yeah.
you feel, JR, that Marvin is really there to find love, to find a relationship, a serious relationship, or what do you think?
He's probably there to find a sexual relationship, but
Okay.
I don't know about anything else, because that's what he leads with. I mean, we have heard him mention other things that he sees in his future, but it's the leading with the sexual stuff for me. Like, it's obviously something that he is quite focused on, and that to me would eliminate him from being, a serious, ready to love candidate.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Oh, Monique, you guessed it. You guessed it. That's right. We saw him there. We know who's in town in Texas. We know. We saw Kojo with the smooth moves too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah. So, okay. So yeah, I think that everybody kind of agrees, because we were even saying last week, JR and I think we talked about, even if it were a double elimination, it would have been okay for Marvin to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You're right. So, let's see. So they ask Red, and then we see Marvin in his confessional pondering his connections, which I'm still trying to figure out if he has any real connections. At least we haven't seen it on screen, but so we move on to the next scene. Herbert has set up a double date with he and Quentin, along with Janelle and Katerina. So as soon as I see this date, I begin to think, so is this where all the stuff kind of hit the fan? Right when we get to this part, because so it seems as though Herbert, in this scene, we learned that Herbert, although he had liked Janelle, we find out that he's no longer contacting her as often or as frequently. Ron, what are your thoughts about that?
I like I said, I think Herbert's one of those like non-hunter type of guys, and he's kind of going with the flow, playing a nice guy role with that. Probably not going to work for her. It usually doesn't work during this process because we're just so fast paced on Ready to Love. So yeah, if you ain't, like she said it right. If you're not applying no pressure, and others are, they're gonna move you out of their top spot down to somewhere else. And like you said, we've seen it time and time again. Them slow rollers on this show, the blues, the slow rollers don't do very well long term.
Right.
So we'll see how that works out.
Yeah. Do you feel this is where are you noticing this is maybe where some tension is beginning to develop between Janelle and Katerina?
No, I think they well, from what I heard that Janelle was Janelle through the whole process, and a lot of the girls and guys might have been a little intimidated So they maybe like was leaning on production to kind of like help them through the situation, which they weren't getting no help on that. And her coming in new as the new girl was probably like, oh, you know, they probably already told her like, you know, this girl, she's the power. You know, I'm gonna move her around here and this and that. And she's calling shots. And you know, you coming in new, you're gonna be like, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? She probably was the one that really bossed up and stepped up to Janelle. And that's where I think the tension happened. But I'm not. It got to be some tension already because you could tell they purposely set them up on this date.
Right? Yeah, well, that is the way Ready to Love moves. If there's tension, they're gonna definitely. Oh, you got tension with that person? Let us set you.
Oh yeah. You're gonna be on a date with them real soon.
Right, that's it. You got that right. Good point. And Kimberly, what do you think about what Stay Tuned is saying down here that Marvin is like Brandon? The ladies can't handle his truth.
I don't know if it's they can't handle the truth. I just don't think that they want to sign up for that. Kind of the same thing with Brandon, multiple children, divorces, whatever, even if it was the same woman. I don't think it's related to the truth of it. I wouldn't want to sign up for that. But like I said, I would love to see him stay on the show, maybe like a friend of the show, because he's entertaining. Like it's something different.
It's something different. Okay. Any thoughts on this, JR?
Yeah, like you, when I saw these two ladies on this date, I was expecting some fireworks, but I didn't get it. They hugged, they greeted each other when they came in, and yeah, it obviously wasn't from this particular date or interaction on camera anyway. We don't know what was happening backstage, but yeah, like it's, you know, it does also give me a bit more of an idea why there is maybe some beef, because they're both on the same date and it's only Herbert there. Then it's two girls vying for the same guy, so there may be some type of competitiveness, but that it didn't turn nasty. And that's what I was, kind of looking for based on the social media back and forth.
Yes, it did not. But I want to say this, guys, and you just jump in, whoever wants to respond to this first. What did you think when Janelle made the comment once Herbert said that he saw that Kat was fine? And then Janelle quickly made the comment, yeah, what do you mean? I see. You see. What you mean by that? Like, was that a little bit out of place, maybe out of pocket?
I thought so. I thought it was, a snide comment, a sly dig, basically saying, what you looking at? Because I don't see why you'd be so interested over there when you got me over here. That's what I thought she was saying with that. But she likes Herbert. I think Herbert likes her, and he may be a slow burner, but I tend to think what he said was true. Like, he just isn't accustomed to reaching out to multiple ladies. But in this process, you're gonna have to do that, because like Ron said, you'll be bumped out of the top pretty quickly if you don't make those efforts, because while you're not doing it, somebody else might be. So,
and there's an inside scoop thing. People are looking for the reason why these two girls are beefing. They're looking for this big thing that has context behind it and stuff like that. That's not how this works. Like, at the time of filming and you're on TV for the first time and you got fans coming in and stuff, your emotions are on super high as being a castmate. So it only takes the littlest thing to set you up. We got women castmates that are not talking to each other for the most pettiest, smallest things. I mean, I ain't talked in years, or the most pettiest, smallest things that you can even imagine. It's because it seemed like such a big deal at the time. And when you look at it now, you're like, what? You wouldn't even understand it. So a lot of it is something very small that, because emotions are flying, your first time on TV, fans are, the internet's undefeated, everything's going through, that you blow it out of proportion and it turns into that wreck that we saw, on Instagram. But it ain't the first time. It's the first time which kind of gets brought all the way out on social media. But we've had some people go at it over the most smallest, pettiest little things you could even imagine.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, Swana, how you doing? Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of. Oh, and hey, welcome in, Calvin. Uh, we were talking about the date with Herbert, the double date with Herbert and Quentin and Janelle and Kat, and I was saying, do you think this is where the tension started between these two ladies? What are your thoughts? Is your mic muted? Calvin. Yeah, your mic is muted.
I'm getting a little
Calvin,
bit.
Calvin, your mic. Okay, there you go.
Okay, I'm just coming here now.
Were you able to hear the question I was asking
What's the
you?
question, please?
Okay, the question was, do you think this is where the date with Herbert, the double date with Herbert and Quentin, Janelle and Katarina, do you think this is where some of the tension is starting to form between these two ladies, particularly Janelle?
Between Janelle and Katarina?
Yes, they've been going back and forth on IG. I don't know if you saw it or not, and we talked a little bit about this last week.
Well,
Those two ladies aren't getting along, and actually, literally, Janelle drove over to Kat's place and pulled up like for a fight. She was physically, this 41, 42-year-old woman was going to fight another woman.
okay,
Okay, we'll
well,
come
again,
back.
territorial, is that what you're saying about Herbert? Okay, thank you.
Probably about both men, maybe. I'm thinking maybe about both men,
Mhm.
because
Herbert
Katrina
and
is
Quentin.
actually right. Both men actually like her. She's very well liked by the men on the cast. So I mean,
Mhm.
they're both beautiful women. Let's say
Yes.
that. But we'll move forward from
Mhm.
there.
Yes.
And when you're ready, you can jump in, Calvin. Um, so
Okay.
what is it about, JR, what did you think about, what is it about Herbert, why he's not contacting Janelle? Literally he's not contacting her, text messaging her as often. Did you have any thoughts or feelings about that?
I was surprised to hear that. Like I said, I do kind of think he may be telling the truth about the way he is used to operating.
Mm-hmm.
But I was surprised because to me, they've had a genuine connection from quite early. One of the few solid connections that we've seen so far. And we talked last week about them being close, in close proximity, like sitting on the hammock and laying down together, like doing what couples would do, and they seem very
Yeah.
relaxed. So yeah, I was surprised that he either took his foot off the gas or was delaying contacting her, because if he was as interested as I thought he was, I thought they would be talking every day, you know. And she's obviously saying that she's expecting his call, which is why she made the comment as well. So, it's only him holding himself back. But he did say that he would do better. So,
Yeah,
we can
he
wait.
did. He did. He did, to be fair. He did. Kimberly, as a lady, why don't you jump in here? What were your thoughts about Herbert and his lack of communication? Did you feel like he was being truthful, or what was your instinct? What was your intuition saying to you?
I agree with JR. I was surprised. I did not expect to see that happen, especially so soon. And I would have been done at that point. Like Herbert would really have to put in some work to gain
Mhm.
my attention back, because I just think that that's telling a lot for him to not have time. And then Herbert even said that he's used to just giving his energy, I think, to one person at a time. So I'm like, who are you giving your energy to then? If it's not Janelle, is it Katarina? See, he kind of
Exactly.
told on himself.
That was my thought. Yeah, like you're giving it to somebody if you ain't giving it to me.
Right. And so maybe he feels a little intimidated by Quentin as well. So he's drawing back a little. So it's a lot of thoughts going to my head at this point.
Okay. I see. Ron, any thoughts? Thank you there for Kimberly. Ron, you have any thoughts on it either? Ron? Okay, I know he may be driving. So Calvin, what about you? Any thoughts on the Herbert
Well,
not contacting Janelle?
just an observation.
Yes.
Just an observation. She mentioned that her preference is Herbert, but she still seems to have some kind of affinity more so for Quentin. If you observe that he picked her up and when he was playing the game they was playing, kind of
Right,
like
the
a tennis
pickleball.
game.
Yes, he
Yeah,
did.
the pickleball. It seems like she's still more comfortable with Quentin. Oh, even though she may have a preference for Herbert, she seems to have a stronger affinity for Quentin.
Good point. Good point.
Mm-hmm. She's more comfortable with him physically and in her space.
And sometimes that can be something that makes the guy like Herbert say, you know what? Okay, she got two. So, you know, maybe he might be pulling back because he knows that she likes Quentin as well. He may be one of these types that wants her to be completely into him and not divided attention, because he was also making, you know, side comments, you know, when do you have time to fit me in?
But he seems to have the same perspective. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so he was making comments like, yeah, so not, I wouldn't say insecure, but he was basically trying to test the water to see if there are any connections. So he was saying things like, yeah, whenever you can fit me in, and you know, how many connections am I behind, type things, like, you know, little small talk, jokingly, but I think there was some intention behind it to fish around for who she's actually feeling.
Yeah, now that's interesting. That's a very good point. He did Herbert did mention to Janelle about her situationship, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
that was kind of interesting to me. Like, what is he really trying to say? What's really going on there? So, like, is he the kind of guy that if you're interested in more than one guy at a time, he's no longer interested in you? But that's not part of this process. This process says that you're supposed to talk to everyone until you really form connections with one or two people, or maybe three people even, and that you kind of keep your top one or two until we get closer to the end, and then you select one. So I'm not
that
sure.
might be the process, but everybody still feels away.
Yes. Yes, we see that from what the sniping that's going back and forth between Katrina and Janelle. Now we see that everybody feels a kind of way. Yes, we see that.
Yeah, you're gonna feel your way, even though you know it's the process. It's your first time doing it. So yeah, when your person you like is talking to somebody else or on another date with somebody else, you might not say anything, but you feel a certain type of way. As men, we got egos. I mean, we're men.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, but I guess, like, Ron, when does that saying come in? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. I mean, you know, clearly Herbert likes Katrina, and then I think he also seems to be forming a connection with Sierra as well. So
yeah, I see the Sierra thing. I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do this season of Ready to Love, but these got to be the worst connections in the history of the show. Because I mean,
we say that every season as reviewers, we say that every season, Ron.
No, I never said that. I thought Miami was kind of bad. The last one, his connection from a connection standpoint. Before that, I thought it was pretty on point. But these age gaps are just ridiculous.
But you know what? I mean, I took a look. Wait a minute, hold on. I took a look. You might be mistaken about that, because a lot of the men are in their 40s, their early 40s. So there really isn't.
Herbert 37.
Phil is in his 40s. Marie is 41 or 42. These are men
But
in their
Quentin's
40s.
33.
Well, yeah, Quentin is 33. You're right, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
that
Do you really
there
think
are
Quinn's gonna
Yes.
end up with Janelle? You know what I mean? Like in Dallas, at the most superficial city in the country? No, it ain't gonna. No.
Wait a minute.
People-
You trying to say, wait. Ron, are
Yeah.
you trying to say that Dallas is more superficial than New York City or LA where they have all the top models and all the top
It's the
actors?
LA of the South. That's what it's known. That's what it's called. And it's the home of the $30,000 a year millionaire. It's the home of all the superficial. It probably is more superficial than those two cities for a smaller city, by far.
Really? Is that
Yeah, and people do care about these type of things in that city. I work in it basically. You know what I mean? So
wow.
I mean, I see everybody, putting on their good hats and stuff and trying to act for the cameras and stuff, but I don't see where these long-term connections are coming from. Because if you got a 6-year male to female age gap in Dallas, I know it sounds good and everything on the internet. Everybody looks at the internet, think they can do everything, but no, it has to make sense, and it doesn't. These guys are gonna go find somebody closer to their age or younger. Let's keep it real.
Okay. Well, especially I would say with Quentin, because as far as we haven't found out yet that Quentin has any children at all, and so I would think that he would want someone his age or younger if he wanted to start a family. And speaking of which, of kids, Herbert says that kids are a must for him. And Quentin is saying on this date of non-negotiables, Quentin says that he needs a woman with drive and ambition. And like you said, they play the pickleball and they win, and that's Quentin and Janelle. And Quentin picks her up. He finally does pick her up. So what did you think? You're into rehabilitation, weightlifting. JR, was that a good pickup?
Yeah, that was a good lift. Good
That was a
form
good
on that.
lift. Good form. Okay, yes, that's what I wanted to know. Thank you so much. Ron, could you handle that? Could you do that?
Yeah, I could, but
Well, I thought, wait a minute now, you're the one that told us that you like the thick women. Am I
no,
right?
yeah, I do. I don't think there's anything wrong with her shape, and I think she looks good in that aspect. I think she looks good. I always said Janelle looks good.
Yeah.
I just don't see her. I don't see nobody 6-7 years younger than her. You know what I mean? Taking it that serious. It's not on that type of level. You know what I mean?
Right. That's true. That is true. And this is also the day where we hear Herbert tell Janelle that he is going to step it up, as JR has pointed out. So we move forward to the next day. Chris invites Eris over to his home. And they greet each other with hugs and smiles. Chris has hired a chef to cook a traditional Nigerian fare. And a side note, the chef is very cute. Very, very cute. What do you think, ladies? Was he very, very cute, or is it just me? Kimberly says, "Oh yeah." All right. One thing I gotta say, I gotta stop the press. I gotta say this right here and now. What I observed from this date, Chris really knows how to date for data. Would you agree, Kimberly?
Oh yeah, for sure. I liked his interactions with the lady so far. He knows how to ask the right questions, and then even in this scene, he opened up and got a little vulnerable. So that was perfect.
Yes, but now, did you feel that? Someone, I think, Calvin, I might have to ask you to close your mic until you're speaking. Okay, would you mind? Kimberly, what did you think when Chris got, like you said, a little bit emotional as he was talking about his deceased parents? Did you feel like Eris, did she handle it okay? Was she comfortable with it, or what was your take on that? What was your observation?
No, I was not convinced. I don't think she liked him the way she responded. I think she did maybe tap him one quick second, but other than that, this was really the moment to come in and show, like, I guess her nurturing side, as Chris had already mentioned, and she just didn't. She kind of just looked at him. Maybe she was tired, or I don't know, maybe I try to blame it on feelings. Maybe she just was nervous. I don't know, but she didn't do enough in that moment for me, and I don't see a connection there at all.
Yeah, no, I don't either. And I felt like, I don't know if it was the way the scene was set up or what, but I felt like it was almost like Chris was asking for a mother replacement rather than a girlfriend.
Mm,
JR,
mm.
JR, what were your thoughts about this?
I can see why you say that because he did mention his mom, get emotional about her loss and everything. And unfortunately, um, if you are dating an older lady in particular,
Hmm.
especially, then it may look that way, but that may not necessarily be true, you know. Um, so I think the date went well. It was a civil date, cordial date.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, again, the ultimate um, destination is: are you going to find a match? And I don't necessarily think these two have a romantic connection, even though they are comfortable around each other.
Hmm. What did you think? I'm curious as a guy. I'm curious to get you guys' viewpoint. What did you think of early on in the date when Chris asked her about cooking? About, does she eat out all the time? Does she like to cook? Does she enjoy cooking? What did you think about that question and also about her response?
It's a very common question that most guys would ask, right? Because there is this
Hmm. Hmm.
maybe somewhat outdated now, but there is that hope that your girlfriend, your wife, your partner knows her way around the kitchen and can cook up a marvelous plate. Um, but you know, as I said, it may be outdated now, so it's not necessarily the deal breaker. Um, you know, most guys can cook as well and take care of themselves these days, so it isn't so heavily relied upon.
Okay.
But you know, I think that question in my mind is like, okay, so she's got two boys, I think. So,
Yes.
you know, when she's is she the type of lady that works all the time and doesn't have time to do the cooking, or is she someone that is skilled in the kitchen and maybe that can be something that they can build upon if he goes round to her house, for example? Is he going to be expecting a home cooked meal? And obviously, with that outdated, I want to say, idea
Hmm.
of a lady being an expert in the kitchen, you know, how well can she cook? Because the way to a man's stomach is way to a man's heart is sometimes through his stomach. So, you know, it's a good plus point to have if you know how to do it. But like I said, it isn't a necessity or a deal breaker in this day and age because you know, we all know that women are out working now too, so they don't really have the time to come home and nurture that particular skill.
I got a question for you. Is uh was Chris maybe a little bit too vulnerable in your opinion? Would you have seen yourself being as vulnerable on a first date with this woman, one-on-one date? What do you think?
No, good question, and I think he was very, very vulnerable. I would say yes, too much, in my opinion, because from speaking about it, it obviously brought up a lot of emotions for him. And I think Eri seeing him cry, she said that it was difficult to see him get so emotional, right? So,
Right.
you know, Eri seems like a caring person who um, took into consideration, you know, what he was expressing. But there are some ladies who may look at that as he's not healed from his trauma, and you know, it's obviously an issue that's quite serious for him to be breaking down like that, because they didn't have to talk about his mom. It was a topic that he chose to bring up. So, um, yeah, like it can go one of two ways, and I definitely think he was oversensitive. You know, probably shared too much too early.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Calvin, I want you to come back into the conversation so you can open your mic. What were your thoughts about the date? Was
Well,
Chris a little too vulnerable?
Not necessarily. It seemed like he had a need to express himself because he's
Hmm.
very family oriented, and so was she. Now, expressing the fact that he had lost his mother, if I recall correctly, it seemed like she had sustained a loss as well. So it seemed like they were in a really good point. There was a good opportunity for them to bond and connect because they both had to express how they felt about the loss of their parents. And when he brought up the picture, that seemed really to bring them closer. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but it seemed like it was a good opportunity for them both to express themselves and to talk about the things that really are the affairs of the heart, you know. And for a
Hmm.
man to express himself emotionally, I think that's a good thing as opposed to being a deterrent. It depends on the woman how she receives it. It doesn't make you weak. As a matter of fact, it shows your strengths.
Yeah, now I don't I agree with you. I don't think it makes a man or any person weaker to be vulnerable or to show emotion. I guess I guess I'm just kind of questioning maybe how we got there on a first date alone. But someone in the chat,
Mm-hmm.
is that Mona? Mona is saying that Aries says she knows Chris and they have some of the same friends. So, that could be a
Mm-hmm.
thing too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Also, this is open for you, Calvin, and anyone else that wants to jump in. I want to kind of question something that Chris said earlier in the season. So we're only on episode 5. Now, Chris pointed out that his family had tried to arrange a marriage, which is common or traditional in Nigerian families. So if
Mm-hmm.
both his mother and father are deceased, who tried
Mhm.
to arrange these marriages? I'm a little lost.
Mm.
Well, that's their tradition, so it could have been another family member.
Mhm.
Arranged
Okay.
marriages in those cultures is not just, they're very family orientated and they close knit, so they want to make sure that the person that's part of their family connection is a person that has the similar convictions as as the person of interest.
Mhm.
I would think that they would not want them. They want them to be in America, but not to become Americanized. They want them to
Yeah.
maintain their traditional roots and custom and practice. So they don't want a person
Mhm.
that's going to alter that. They want them to go to the next level instead of going against their customs and traditions. So that's important.
Mm, any thank you for that, Calvin. Any thoughts on that topic,
Yeah.
JR, about the arranged marriages and who could have done that?
Yeah. I think it could have been another family member because ultimately, Chris did say that usually the parents get together and say for example they grew up with somebody when they get when their kids become a certain age, then they say, you know what, I've known this person for X amount of years, so let's let our kids marry each other and we can build and grow a community out of this. And so it could have been another family member, but Calvin's right. In most cases, it's done to uphold the tradition and the culture and make sure it continues. Um, Instead of dating outside the culture, which is probably more likely to happen in a diverse community.
Right, right. Good point.
So,
Excellent, excellent point. Thank you for that. Kimberly, I want to ask you, I don't know who is that you? Oh, that must be Ron. Kimberly, I wanted to ask you real quick because I know you and I've talked often about cooking. So our subscriber D says that Era says that she used to cook more often, but currently maybe not as much. But I think that women should be asking the man how domesticated he is. Would you agree with that? And could you elaborate a little bit if you do?
Oh, yes, I agree for sure. It should go both ways because, as you mentioned, and most people already know, I'm not that domesticated. So I don't believe that I should be the primary cook or cook at all. Honestly, I don't cook as a single woman. I have a chef. So for Chris to hire a chef would have been a check and a plus and extra stars on his book for me because it shows that he listened to her when she says she doesn't cook as often. And so, he was able to bring in the chef, and it, I guess, should add points to him. Not sure if it did, but yeah, I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And we need to just not assume that the woman is going to be, what they call it, barefoot in the kitchen and pregnant. So
Uh,
we need to talk and have these conversations to see, what are you comfortable with, and what is your dream, what is your goal, because the all the chores don't have to just go one way. I think it should be shared in the household. You should talk about, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what do you like
Yes.
doing, and just go forth with that plan, not just what the world thinks it should be.
Yes, yes, because we know that marriages are individualized to the couple. It's not like there is some cookie cutter format that all marriages must share. And then also, I would say, like for example, I'm really often flabbergasted with friends and people who say they have these big arse children in the home and they don't do any chores. They don't do anything.
Right.
So, like my son, for example, was learning to cook probably by the time he was 10 or 11. Now, someone said this in the comments. I had it up earlier about her kids being of a certain age of 11, and she needs to maybe make more home cooked meals for her sons. I agree that there should be some cooking going on, and there should be some hot meals served in the house. But I also think at 11, 10, 11, 12 is a good age for your children, whether they're male or female. They're going to eventually go out into the world. They're going to need to be able to keep a home, keep an apartment. They're going to need to know how to cook. And so these are things that we want to start teaching our young men and our young women. Would you not agree?
For
Calvin?
sure. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. And Calvin, what about
Man
you? Do you
should be
agree with that?
domesticated. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, do you agree with that? I
Yes, of
think you
course.
may.
Man should be domesticated.
Yes.
mhm.
I agree. I agree. Yes, I do.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, I think this is important because I do hear
Oh,
often still in 2023 that there are still marriages and homes where the man will come home. Both people work, the man and the woman work outside the home, and the man will come home and he may get home, let's say he gets home an hour before his wife. He's sitting there,
mm,
he's sitting there and he's waiting for her to come in to start the dinner, and she's home an hour later from work. Like, really? Are you serious?
Mhm. Yeah, it does.
no.
It does go like that sometimes, but I think
And you have an
there are-
attitude because you're hungry.
exactly that. Now there are more men that know their way around the kitchen now, because part of the traditional aspect is to be able to feed, clothe, and protect, right? So if you ain't got no woman, then
That's right.
you literally must learn how to cook and be domesticated for yourself. Otherwise, your apartment or your house or wherever you live by yourself, how are you going to maintain it if you don't have those skills? If you can't feed yourself, how are you going to be able to get up and go work and do all the things you need to do? So, but I think there is, as you say, this notion of barefoot and pregnant, and it's quite outdated. I think all men should know how to cook and be able to take care of the kitchen if necessary. There shouldn't be a problem with that at all. Um, and I guess it comes from the notion that mama's cooking tastes best, right? Any,
Yeah.
anything
That
mama
would be
makes
true for that.
tastes better
Yep.
than anybody else can make it. So I think that's where that comes from. But
Okay. All right. That's a very excellent point. Ryan, are you able to talk? Are you still driving, or are you able to kind of chime in on this? And we're going to move on to the next date, Ryan. Okay, I think Ron may still be driving, so that's okay. So the next date we see Marvin and Unique are out riding horses to their destination, where they're going to have their picnic. They're chatting and they seem to be getting along quite well. When we notice that Unique covers their mouths, as covered puts her hand up so the camera can't quite catch them doing their kissing. Um, how do you feel? How do you think Marvin received those kisses, and how did he feel, and why do you feel that way? Calvin, I'm going to ask you.
Well, like they say, it was a great date, and the kiss was the icing on the cake. That's how I refer
Mhm.
to it. Yes.
The icing on the cake. All right. Very
Icing
good.
on the
Very
cake.
good.
Yes.
Kimberly, what? Thank you, Calvin. Kimberly, what were your thoughts about that kiss, and why was she putting her hand in front of their mouths?
Because she knew better. The kiss was too much, too soon. And I did not like it. I wish he would have waited a little while longer because wasn't
Okay.
she the one Colin read the thought not too long ago? And then now
Uh-huh.
she's all over this guy. I just didn't
Uh-oh.
know, like, how did she connect so fast with him on that level? And then he didn't even save her. He didn't even protect the girl. He sent,
No.
oh my gosh.
That's my thought too, Kimberly. You read my mind on that because I'm like, wait a minute. He's talking later
Right.
on. We're gonna get to that. He's talking about this kiss. He's what's that rule about no kissing and telling? But he's telling everybody, and yet he doesn't
Right.
save her. What in the world is going on?
No. But it was a cute day, the horseback ride, and that was
Yeah.
cute. And maybe she was caught up in the moment.
Yes.
I don't know.
I love the back to nature. I love being out in nature. So I did think that was a romantic and cute date. JR, what were
Mhm.
your thoughts? Was it too early for them to be kissing yet? I didn't have a problem with it, honestly.
Nor did I. I think she has been attracted to him from day one and has overlooked a lot of things that
Yes.
I've already said should have been major issues. But that's who she's attracted to, and I think the eye contact between them, it just made that naturally happen because they were sitting there. And it didn't even like take a long time. Like it wasn't like a lot of conversation before then. It was like they literally just poured the wine or whatever they were drinking and said 2 words and then leaned in and it happened. But I think after the kiss, because there was some post-kiss clarity.
Yeah, let's see it. Let's get into that. Go ahead and introduce
Yeah,
that.
so I feel like in that instance, if they've kissed and fireworks went off between them, then they would have gone harder for each other. But I think based on what we saw, the kiss, even though it may have been pleasant and their connection is still intact, I don't think the earth moved. So
wait a minute. Wait, hold on. I want to get some
Mhm.
clarification from you, JR. Are you saying that for maybe Marvin, the kiss wasn't what it could have been?
Yeah, I'm saying he didn't seem too, in fact, he didn't seem sad at all with her being put down in the bottom and being sent home. In fact, he was quite chill about sending her home, and he had to do it personally. I would have thought it would have been more difficult.
Who is
thing to do.
that?
It looked like I saw
see Kira.
Phil.
Wait a minute. Turn your mic on,
I
Ron.
missed
Hey,
her.
Kira. Hey, Houston, Kira. Ron, we want to hear everybody. Where's Kojo? There's Stacy B. Oh my gosh. Ron is a celebrity magnet. Hey, Stacy. What's up? Okay, but yeah, that's a thing. Like I was thinking that too. One, I thought that he didn't seem to be as moved by the kiss, but I think Darika, I hope I say your name correctly, Darika makes a very good point that probably for Unique, she should have waited until after they had discussed their negotiables, because what happened? They had this kiss, and then he said, "I must have a son."
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, you're right. If they had that conversation before the kiss, would they have kissed? Would there still have been a connection there for that to happen?
Right. Go ahead.
So yeah, like it's one of those what ifs. I wonder if she regrets it now and maybe waiting, or maybe he regrets it. I don't know, but I didn't sense that there was any regret there. I think they both enjoyed the moment. They did it for what it was. It was a nice date. And even though they may not agree on the non-negotiables, there may be some things there. That was probably the reason why he was so nonchalant in letting her go. But the thing for me is that was his only connection. There ain't no one else feeling him like that. She'd been riding for him since the start. So where does he go from here? You know?
Right. That's the thing. So it seems to me like he's kind of riding around with the, maybe it's just me, but from my observations and vibes about him, he's kind of conceited. Like when she said the part about, what was it, like it's some kind of romance novel cover, and he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I look like that kind of guy," you know. And even on his Instagram, he's talking about he's got the body of an Adonis and this and that. Um, but I don't really quite get him because nobody's really feeling him like that, at least not from what I can see. Do you
Nope.
think that he might be up for elimination next, JR?
I hope so. I hope so. Sorry to say it like that, but I
We
hope
got
he is.
varying opinions. Kimberly says he should be kept on as a friend of the show.
Yeah, yeah, but that's not what we're here for, right? We're not here to. It's not ready to find friends with the show. Ready to love, and the game, the objective is to find someone like a Unique could have been for him, someone that understands him, is intrigued by him, and you pursue that connection, and as well as others. Now the problem is, he, like Unique, hasn't really connected with anybody else outside of them two. So I think he will be going home soon. Because, you know, other than Marvin, who was really feeling Unique? The reason why she was in the bottom is because most of the guys
Right.
felt like they weren't connecting with her.
Right. Nobody really felt like they were connecting with her. And
Mhm.
even some of the guys talk about later, we're going to get into that. They talk about later that she's unhealed.
Mhm.
Let's see. You know, okay, this is something we might as well get into this right now. What did you guys think about this? So during that scene and toward the end of it, Marvin says, once she says that she doesn't know about having, children until they finally look up and get a son, because what if the next one is a daughter? Apparently these two people both have daughters, right? So he already has a child, and I think she says that maybe she has one or two. I don't quite remember. But he says in this scene, he says that the next time around, he wants to date a woman without children. This is about the second or third time this has come up on this season. What is it with the men that already have children, have already created families, didn't marry the mothers, except for Brandon, but now they all of a sudden want a woman that doesn't have any children? What are your thoughts about that, Calvin? Calvin?
Well, the interesting thing about it, they talk about non-negotiable characteristics. She, the fact that how they deal with their children, because you're talking about blending families. So
Right.
if you already have children, then they're looking at the relationship that you have with your children as well as their parents, their co-parenting. Right now, you can if you deal with a woman if you have a child and you deal with a woman that has a child, you have to be able to deal with that and everything to go along with it because you are the co-parent now. So your opinion, you have to be open to the process instead of saying, I don't want a woman that has children. You have a child.
Right.
And if you're somebody that does have a child, you have to be there for that woman and the child and be part of the process. You can't just compartmentalize and say, I'll deal with the woman, but not the child. No, that becomes your child.
Exactly. And that's actually why some guys may feel like they're not looking for it, because it's not like they're just dating the lady. She, with the cow comes the calf, as they say. And
Okay.
so that means you have to then now think about co-parenting someone else's child. And a lot of guys, I've heard this said a lot, where they're like, I can't discipline this child. This child may not respect me because I'm not the father. And how would I handle that if it continually happens? Will she step up and enforce who I am on the child coming into the relationship, or will she sit back and let this child disrespect me? That's the type of mindset that some of these guys may have. So it's an instant no, because it's too much to deal with. And not to mention, there'll be more financial implications as well, because even though they may be the step parent or, a new addition to a ready-made setup, as the guy being the provider in the situation,
Mm-hmm.
you're providing for the lady and her child as well, and the child's not yours. So there's an extra financial responsibility there that they may not want to sign up for.
I know, but I guess my thing is, I get what you're saying about perhaps the extra financial responsibility, but these days, again, we're talking 2023 here, and most women, many women are working outside the home nowadays. So that would mean if you're struggling, if you're working together, then your incomes are together. It's not like the woman is coming into it with a child and expecting you to take care of everything. I don't know. Where is Phil at, Ryan? Sorry about that. Ryan, if you're not gonna put Phil or Kojo on the camera, I don't want to see no more. I don't want to see no more. I want Kojo to say hello to me and Phil, okay? Because Phil was supposed to be interviewed by this channel, but that's another story for another day.
Okay. Yeah, Phil was on. He flashed past already and was posing.
Yes.
And doing
Oh, I missed. Oh my God, I missed Phil trying to keep up with the comments. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I have to go back. I guess I had to watch my own replay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I guess it's just the whole thing of the irony of someone asking someone, like, you're saying, you have children, you have a child, but yet you want to date someone who's never had children. You don't want to deal with the drama that sometimes comes with ex-divorce parent or spouse, or either whether they were never married. You don't want to deal with that, but yet you want her to deal with your children and your child's mother. So I just, the duality of it all, the hypocrisy of it, it just seems a little stingy. But I do get that people have the right to their preferences, so we can agree on that. They're right. People dating have the right to their preferences, whatever, because that's going to come up when we talk about preferences and racial preferences in a minute. We're going to talk about that too, right?
Of course.
Okay, so
can I just say though? Can I just add?
Yes.
Like we have seen on the previous where there has been ladies that do have kids, and they particularly want a guy that doesn't have kids as well. We saw that with Biblical Jeffrey and what's his name? Andre.
Andre, yep.
Yeah, because that was why they broke down, right? He wasn't comfortable with what he found out after the camera stopped rolling. But she had children and he didn't have any, and he wanted children, and so
yeah. But the thing about it though, and that's a good point, but I don't know if she just strictly wanted him because he didn't have any children, but he knew going into it, starting to date her, he knew that she had children. She never hid that from anybody. We all knew that, right? She has 3 children.
Of course, but there were information that wasn't told to him apparently. As beyond that, so he knew about the children, but I think his problem was the relationships with their fathers, right? Because if they had no relationship with their fathers, then taking on 3 children that aren't his plus 1 in his own changes the dynamic of the relationship. But I do get you. It is it's kind of a double standard, a hypocrisy in a way, but in most cases, if the guy has children already, he has to be financially providing for that child. And then if he moves on to another relationship, whether she has a child or not, then he still has to provide for this new situation too. So the less people to provide for, I guess the easier it sounds and seems like, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, I do get what you're saying. Let's see, what is Ellen saying here? Making babies, but not wanting to date women. Exactly. Especially Herbert. I mean, I heard him say this as well. So I'm sorry, not Herbert. Marie said that. So it's just, I don't know.
But it's just that in your 30s, the dynamics become more intense and more comprehensive, because you're gonna do these situations like children, whether they have them or not, because the women, because the man, if he doesn't have any children, he has a little bit more time. But women, when they get in their 30s, if they don't have any children, they want children. Or if you had children, You don't want this flavor of the month with your children. You want somebody that's reliable and that's going to be a significant father figure for the children. Because you're 30 and may have had different scenarios with different guys, but you want something more stable, and that's to be respected. You can't come in a situation and say I'll deal with you, but not your children.
Right. And I guess my other going back to JR, I think my other thought process for this is, and again, it's just mine, so it's just my opinion, and everybody's going to have opinions. We know what opinions are like, right? But I think that once you hit, let's say 34, 35, for me, at least when I was dating and I was that age, it's just kind of common that the other people you're going to come across, the men you come across, or if you're a man, the women that you're going to come across at 35 and greater are probably, chances are they probably do have children.
Yes.
That's true. But this is where I think the onus is on either production if they're setting up the dates, or the contestants themselves, because if you know that you're looking for someone that doesn't have children, Janelle doesn't have children, so that's when you divert your attention to someone like Janelle and you say, okay, you know what, let's see if I can connect with her, because one of my non-negotiables is I don't want a lady that has children. So you find one that doesn't have that and see if that works. And then also, as you mentioned earlier, if you're the lady and you're older than the guy that you're feeling, and you feel like there's too much of an age gap or a maturity gap, then you need to turn to someone like a Phil, or someone who's up there in age, similar to you, so that you get rid of that waste of time younger dude who probably is not going to stick around. So either production needs to put the correct people on dates whose non-negotiables meet the what they're looking for, or the participants need to themselves voice, why am I going on dates with people who are 10 years younger than me? I need someone who is a grown man and gives grown man energy and this, that, the other. So something's got to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
had enough of the filler dates,
Right. Very good point. We see on this next date, speaking of dates, we've got Herbert, we've got Chris, and we got Marie. So now, once again, Chris comes with this grown man energy and wisdom, even though he does seem to me, I would say, personally, he has a baby face, but he's very mature. So in their improv, on this improv date, he has, he says that he seeks to find resolution. And I thought that was very, very wise of him to say that. I really enjoyed the improv. And what did you think, Kimberly, about the improv with Chris? And who was the lady? I'm sorry, who was the lady in the improv with him?
Did I write that down? Was it? I don't think I wrote that one down. I know
it was
Sierra. Was that Lee or Sierra? No, Sierra was with Herbert. Sierra's improv was later on with Herbert. But
was that Eris? Oh, no.
Eris, yes, I think that was Eris. Good point. Thank you. Oh, look at Calvin coming with the notes over there. So Calvin, you so well versed in it all. What did you think? What did you think about Chris and Eris's improv?
Hold on, let me look at my notes. Well, you know what? I did take notes. Because they have more than one scenario.
We're gonna come right back to you. I'm gonna ask Kimberly, and if you mute your mic for just a second, I'm gonna ask Kimberly. Kimberly, that was Eris. So what did you think of that date with Eris and Chris?
I thought it was good, but still just no chemistry, no connection there. I really like Chris. I feel like he presents well. Eris is good too now. I don't have anything against her, but it was a good conversation. Just sticking to the non-negotiables, and I think that's a very important conversation to have. But I think it's not just good to talk about it, but you got to stick to it. Just like we were just talking about, who wants children and who prefers to date what. I think it's not only important to talk about these things, but to stick to them and truly let them be non-negotiables. If you find someone who, especially if the non-negotiables are decent, but sometimes we can go overboard. But I think it's important to have the conversations and stick to it. And I think Chris will do well.
Oh, that was Jessica. Okay, they're saying that was Jessica. Books with
Mhm.
Kimberly is saying Jessica. I think that was. I think that was Jessica. Yeah, I didn't. Eris was earlier. We saw the date with Chris, and Eris was at his home, but that was Jessica. But anyway, but to your point, very good. Yeah, very good point about the non-negotiables. Absolutely, absolutely. And then we come to on this improv date, Herbert and Sierra. Herbert and Sierra. So in their improv, they're at the hospital. They're going to visit the auntie, and then Herbert says, "Oh, we're passing the maternity ward. What do you think about that, Sierra?" Because Herbert wants to have children. So they begin to improv, and Sierra seems as if she's equally intense and dedicated to having children, and they both want to do it inside of marriage. What did you think about this date, JR?
Good chemistry, and some commonality between the two of them.
Mhm.
So I didn't, see anything wrong, anything problematic. The one thing I would say is, instead of leading with "I would like to have kids" or "I want to have children" or whatever,
Mhm.
I would prefer to probably hear "I want to be a husband" first. I want to create
Mm,
a family, rather than "I just want to have a baby," because you can be a baby daddy by mistake, or um,
mhm.
or intentional, and it doesn't work out. But I want to hear more family orientated goals, husband,
Mm.
all that type of stuff personally. But other than that,
Okay.
fine date.
Okay. Very good point. Very good point. Um, Calvin, how are we doing with those notes over there? You ready to hop in about the improv dates? Calvin, your mic is on mute.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
They talked about the improv was when if she should get sick, right? If she should get ill, something would happen to her. And he said that, well, because of my job, I can give you the time and attention that you need. I wouldn't just be so consumed myself. I'll be involved with you as well.
Oh, you're talking about Chris and was it Jessica, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yes.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
really, that
that
was
was
the
a good.
improv situation scenario. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
hmm
Yeah, that was a very good one. I like that. How did you feel about
hmm
that, Kimberly, when Chris said that he could take care of her since he's independent and works for himself?
Perfect. Listen, Chris is winning. Chris
Chris
is
is with
over here
Chris,
winning. I'm telling.
Chris with the chef and Chris with the job and
yes.
the his own enterprise. He gonna take care of
Yeah.
his woman. It reminded
Um,
me of that song. What was that song by Babyface? I cook your dinner and do all this stuff. Or was that Babyface? Who was that song that
mhm.
he'll have all this stuff done before you get home from work?
Oh yeah, I remember somebody sung something like that, but Chris is the one. He's doing it. That's why I said he would do well if he takes dating seriously, and
Mhm.
doesn't get relaxed. I think he'll
Yeah.
do okay.
Yes. It kind of makes you wonder, how did he make it to 40 and still single? I don't even
Mhm.
But
understand it.
maybe
Mhm.
focusing on his career though. It could have been like
Yeah.
really focusing. Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay. Yes, that's a
And
good point.
also, didn't
Mhm.
Chris say that he has a child as well?
Yes, he has a daughter
Yes.
that's 11. Good
Mhm.
point. Good point. You're right. He does. He does have a child. Um, and there's one last part. I'm looking at my notes. I'm a little lost here, lost in the sauce, guys. It's Kira and Kira with Marie, and I'm beginning to feel that these two are not really clicking because
Mhm.
it during their improv, we find out that Marie, on the one hand, is saying that it's very important about health consciousness. But I'm
Mhm.
looking at
Mhm.
him, I'm sitting there now. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not trying to body shame, but I'm sitting here as a viewer and I'm looking at him stuffed in his short talls, overalls, whatever you want to call them. And I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, like, you're talking about health consciousness, but when's the last time you hit the gym?
Uh-huh.
But
Um,
it could be something that's yet still evolving. It seems like he's a little
it,
bit pudgy,
it
but he
could,
still mentions some
yeah,
stuff about herbal.
It's a little much.
ingredients that's really distinct. He could be moving in that direction because he mentioned that his family
Okay.
members have succumbed to
Yes.
disease or death because of their lifestyle. And
Yeah.
right at 30 something is a great time to start being more mindful about your health and how you live, how you choose to live. Because that's
That
all.
is
It's about choices. And he has more. The interesting thing about your 30s, you start to shift into a greater awareness of being accountable for your actions, instead of
mm.
just being haphazard.
Get over to these comments. Very good point. JR, as someone who is in the health industry and the fitness industry, what were your thoughts about? Thank you, Calvin. I appreciate that. You have a very good point. He could be evolving. That's a very good point.
Well, I think Morier is one to me that doesn't have any solid connections. First of all, I just start with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, like he probably doesn't hit the gym. He probably hits the kitchen and the fridge more than he hits the gym. But the thing about weight, and sometimes it's due to underlying conditions, and sometimes you just live a sedentary lifestyle. But let's be real, like everybody that goes to the gym, even when they do get to their ideal weight, their goal weight, they still have to keep up that lifestyle. So yeah, in order to maintain what they've got, so it never stops. And so he either doesn't have the gym prioritized as part of his routine, and if you're not going to the gym, that means you have to eat healthier because you're quite susceptible to put on weight if you're not burning calories. So yeah, I won't body shame him, but I would say that it definitely seems like the gym is not necessarily a priority. And if he is going to the gym, then he isn't prioritizing weight loss. He's doing something else, like building muscle, building strength, and all these other different things that you can do. But to some women, as we've heard in these YouTube streets, they want a man that's in shape. They want a guy that goes to the gym, has
Thank
six-pack abs, and
you.
all of that stuff. And
I'm not trying to be your nursemaid. I'm not trying to
exactly,
be your nursemaid.
yeah,
Mm-mm.
and Morier may not be that guy. Morier seems to be the guy that has a sensitive side to him, a caring side to a degree, and is also quite open. And he's not afraid of confrontation. But he doesn't incite it, but he definitely is able to articulate himself where he doesn't stir the pot and get people mad. So yeah, what he may lack in terms of fitness, he makes up for in other areas, but it's still not enough for me to see him with a solid connection at this point.
I don't, one of the things about him though too, I don't know if he kind of puts himself up on a pedestal. So sometimes a man with a little extra poundage and weight, sometimes that guy, and depending on how it's distributed, can be very teddy bearish and very cuddly. That's cool. But the thing that to me that strikes me about both these people is they both seem to be a little bit conceited. Marie
Yes.
seems to be conceited, and so does Kira, the
Yep.
cheerleader. Like, you guys are both stuck on yourselves, and we're all as viewers trying to figure out why. Why are
Mhm.
you stuck on yourself? Because it ain't giving what it should have gave. For you to be stuck on
Mhm.
yourself, you need to be stepping it up a couple of more levels there. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just calling it like I see it. Like, really, why are you thinking that you're all that, and you coming in here with this overall, and you looking like you about 7 months pregnant? I can't, because I always kind of wonder, like, if let me hush. I'm about to get X-rated here. I always wonder when somebody has a big belly. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind. Let me hush. Let me hush. But moving forward here, because it's just how do you contort yourself to get it done? That's what I want to know. But anyway,
Right.
so on Phil's date with Katarina, they both vibe over they're both more spiritual than they are religious. So they seem to really hit it off. Guys, do we agree that these two seem to hit it off on their date, Katarina and Phil?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. we're gonna cut over to really quick and get this in and get this discussion popping, because this is where everything really kind of heats up. Quentin invites Unique and Kira to a boxing date. The coach gives them some tips on moves and how to box and how to duck and how to weave and how to bounce dance. And then we see Quentin alone with Unique. And once again, the whole issue of, is Unique healed enough to be dating? Because Quentin doesn't feel that she is. What are your thoughts about that, Kimberly? Just
I agree. She does have some things that she needs to work on still, but I wish they would have, kind of given her more of a chance to kind of stay on the show a little longer. Because I think that maybe she is kind of ready to love, but it's all in the guy's hand. It's, I guess, 100% up to what they're willing to deal with. And Quentin was very 100% open and honest, and he just straight up said that he don't think he could deal with that. So I guess that's just what it all comes down to.
Okay. 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 Your thoughts on this too, JR?
Well, I've got to give a shout out to my guy Kojo for this one, because he says men ain't jumping over walls in 2023. So that basically means that if you have unresolved issues, then a lot of guys are not prepared to start a relationship while you have those unresolved issues at the forefront of the things you do, or the way you think, or the way you act. So if that's what the men have detected from Unique, from being around her as much as they have, then I can't downplay that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, everybody goes through stuff, and it's really how you handle it. If you're bringing previous anger or previous pain and trauma into your new situation, then it's very unfair of you to do that and expect the person to still show a level of interest as if you didn't have those things going on. It's quite a big thing. It depends how it manifests. If it manifests in the form of rages, or every time you start talking about your previous relationships, you start to get amped up about it, or it can really be draining on the person you're with, because they're thinking, well, that's nothing to do with me. Like, so
Right.
I can only console you right now, but how much is that consoling going to do for you if you haven't taken the steps to really move past yourself? So I can see where Quentin's coming from with Unique, and it's probably an opinion that was shared by a lot of the other guys, and it is a turnoff. Some ladies will definitely miss out on a potential relationship if they haven't overcome some of the things that they've been through before. They have to start with a clean slate. Every relationship deserves that opportunity. I'm quite sure if a guy was coming in with previous baggage as well, or previous pain or trauma, every minute he starts talking about it, he's referring to a situation that didn't it's nothing to do with you, and it may become repetitive and quite monotonous over time, and eventually it may lead to the end of a relationship. So you have to sort these things out before you move on. That's my
I totally agree. I totally agree. Calvin, what are your thoughts about the unhealing in a relationship? And can a person truly completely heal? Because that's a question I've been seeing bantered about, and I have my thoughts on it, but I'm wondering what you guys' thoughts are. Does a person ever completely heal after being in a traumatic experience or relationship?
The reality is of it that you may not heal from it, but what can you learn from it so it doesn't disrupt your life? Because even though these things happen, what's happening with you now? You realize that it's a deterrent within yourself, so you can't transfer that energy onto somebody else and expect them to do for you what you need to do for yourself. Some things are catastrophic to your psyche, but what are you going to do about it? Because life goes on. You have to make a conscious decision yourself about healing, because the healing you need to heal as best as you can, even though it may be a scar there or something unresolved. your life goes on. If you're stuck in that moment, you're not good for nobody else or yourself. That's just a fact.
Right. I don't know. Maybe it's my belief that I think people can heal. I think, however, what people get mixed up with is, will you still be triggered, or do you get triggered by things? I
That's
think
right.
that you
That's
can
right.
be triggered by someone, like, for example, a person that's experienced domestic violence, for example. So let's say they're with a whole new guy and he now starts raising his voice and he's screaming or he's yelling. That may trigger that person to feel uncomfortable, and their reaction may be different from someone who has never experienced domestic violence.
That's
But
right.
is that person healed? They can still be healed. But I like what JR said, though, and I think that's what I have to rely on, is that if most of the men are saying that Unique is coming across as unhealed, I have to believe them. I have to trust it, because they're there with her and they're there for 16, 15-hour days of filming, and they're seeing her. And if she's coming across as unhealed, and I feel like, even as a viewer and as a woman myself that has experienced DV, I can see that she is nervous. She seems
That's right.
uncomfortable. I can see that and I can feel that. And I can only imagine what a man would feel, because he's saying, like what JR is saying, he's never experienced, he's not the reason for her her discomfort. He's not that reason. So I totally get that.
And I
Go ahead.
also think that this also makes me really question the connection between her and Marvin, because the type of stuff that Marvin's been talking about, as I've said, not just the sexual aspect, but the actual, the tying up and the other various things that he's mentioned. If you're with somebody who, or you see, somebody who is particularly troubled by events of their past, going into a relationship like that's crazy, right? That's something that you would definitely advise against, because there's force involved, there's bondage involved, there's all these other different things involved, and sometimes people self-harm, or some people associate pain with some type of mechanism to overcome whatever it is they're going through. So I don't think that that's the right situation for her to go into, if she
Right.
has things.
And that brings me, thank you for saying that. That brings me to another thought before we move on to the whole race thing. That brings me to another thought. I've been wondering for the longest, why is it that a person like Unique, who has been through something, we never find out exactly what it is, but we can only surmise from what we've seen of her and what she has said and what she hasn't said. Why would she be attracted to Marvin, of all people, the guy that wants to tie you up and take away your power and dominate over you? Why would she have even been attracted to him from the get-go? Can anybody address that?
Yeah, that was my main question from the start too, right? Because I think it has more to do with the aesthetics, like the visual aspect. He may be someone that she's looking for in terms of the physical, but also her being intrigued by the other elements that he talks about. That really kind of made me feel like, hey, like, Unique, you've come across as quite judgmental at times over what people do for a living. And so I'm surprised that there was no shade at all thrown towards Marvin. It was completely overlooked, and I think that's purely because of how physically attractive she thinks he is. The judgment just melted away. But let the roles have been reversed, and Red was in Marvin's occupation and Marvin was doing what Red does. I guarantee you wouldn't have been any shade thrown about a thought job comment for a DJ.
Good point. What do you think about what Mimi has up there on the screen? That sometimes we can self-sabotage, and that maybe Unique shared a lot too soon. No one wants to hear about the way your ex treated you while at the same time trying to get to know you. And she
Mhm.
concludes with, it's called the honeymoon phase for a reason. You guys agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Great points. And sometimes I just feel like people like being the underdog. They like being taken advantage of, even though they
Mm,
may not voice it. So could that be unique situation? Maybe she
mm,
knew kind of what she signed up for with the ex, and now
Mhm.
she knows what she's signing up for with Marvin. He's going
Mhm.
to be, the more dominant partner, and maybe she just likes that.
Mhm. Maybe it provides her with a false sense of security.
Yep.
Um, um, the interesting thing about it is that you bring into the relationship with people everything about you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And since it's getting more involved now, and people are dealing with the things that are the deal makers or the deal breakers, being transparent is good. But are you really ready? Do you feel good about yourself? If you don't feel good about yourself, how do you expect for something to be a part of the loving process? Because you're too complicated within yourself. And you look for somebody else to fix you, and you're not putting the work to change yourself. So there's a lot of work involved in relationships, and you can't pawn that off onto somebody else. You have to do the work yourself. They can be an asset to you, but they can't complete you.
Exactly.
right.
And I think it's a very slippery slope when you feel like you're looking for a relationship where your partner is going to therapize you. Um, because that's not what they're signing up for. That can take a huge toll on them. And they're not trained, they're not qualified. And even if they were, chances are they're not gonna wanna have to do psych evaluations on you and different
Mhm.
tests and questions to see how you're feeling about your issue. So it's taking the
Mm,
time away from having a connection that may be genuine. But I think Unique is whatever she's gone through, she has expressed it. I would probably say too early at times, but it's not a problem because it just shows that she's vulnerable.
mm-hmm.
I think the issue I would have is how she reacts while she's talking about it because it's not forced. She's volunteering that information. And if it's something that gets her angry, makes her cry, tear up, gets her animated, those are the signs I'm looking for. Because if you're
Mm,
truly healed, then you can look back on it as a memory, just a chapter in that book of life, and you've turned the page now and you're on to new things. But if it's something that brings or evokes emotions or things like that too strong, um, yeah, it's obviously something that you're struggling with, and you may need to seek therapy or some type of counseling outside of the relationship specifically for that issue. And it could be lifelong depending on
yeah.
how deep the trauma is. And you can't be afraid to admit those things because that's your
Mm-hmm.
life, that's your story, that's how it's gone for you. So, I can see why in some instances people say, yeah, it was too much too soon. But ultimately, it's better to let these things out at an earlier time than to get 2 years, 3 years in, and then there's more feelings invested. You've probably got other things invested in each other, time and all of that stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
then these things start to manifest and it's more difficult to deal with because now you have feelings for the person. So she's given them like an informed consent. She's let them know this is what I've gone through, and now it's
Yeah.
up to them to decide.
I think I like what you said, JR. So there's D asked the question, and I think there's two rules of thumb, but this is my opinion only. This is just my opinion. Again, as someone who's experienced DV and has experienced narcissistic abuse. I don't think that it's necessary to share your whole life story on a first, second, or third date because I don't even know if I like you, first of all. I mean, like, you may be attractive to me, which is why I accepted your invitation to go on a date. But
Mhm.
I really don't know, do I like you? Do I like your character? Do we have enough things in common? All right. And then if you've ever experienced narcissistic abuse, for those of you out there that have or have not, it's quite common for a narcissist to gather all the pertinent information about you, particularly things that have hurt you and things that you are sensitive to, and then throw it back in your face to harm you again emotionally. So
Absolutely.
no, I totally do not believe that you pour out your heart and soul to a brand new person. I'm not talking about, now there's differences if you've known someone as a friend or as a colleague or what have you, and you kind of know their character, then you're comfortable sharing some of your past traumas with them. But no, I'm not going to go into great detail about my past with you. And one of the things that I often ask women is always this: whether you've experienced DV or not, how do you know you are safe with this person? Because if I don't know that I am safe with you emotionally, physically, then no, you get none of my personal story, none at all. I'm very reserved in dating and in real life. And oftentimes I tell people, I say it here on this show even, I am what you call an extroverted introvert. I'm not extroverted in real life. I'm only extroverted here on my podcast, okay? But you're just not getting all that deep stuff, all that gooey, sensitive, vulnerable stuff with me. I'm not going to get emotional on a date, because until I get to know you and know that you are safe and my heart is safe with you, then that's when I can trust you and give you the goods.
Yeah, that's very very true. But how do we know that she didn't reach that level of how she, how comfortable she was with those guys, which is why she disclosed it? Because I don't think she was running around telling everybody the same story, which is another indication that she's traumatized. But they could see it and picked up.
That was what I was about to say. And that's why I said I have to believe the guys. And also, as a viewer, I myself as a woman, I could see that she had been traumatized. I can see that she's skittish. And I think that's like goes back to what you're saying, JR, that I can totally understand a man who says, I don't want to deal with that. Especially we know that in our society, that socially speaking, men aren't socialized to be necessarily the most empathetic or to understand how to deal with emotions, because oftentimes men don't even know how to deal with their own emotions. So how are they going to help somebody to get over a trauma? In my opinion, that is whoever is traumatized, male or female, it is your job, you the individual, it is your job to go and get healing, seek a therapist, seek a coach.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And another thing is, for men, up until recently, there haven't been the spaces where men can actually be vulnerable about what their experiences are and what they've gone through either. So this whole, a man must be strong and silent has been going on for a long time. And when a guy is vulnerable, sometimes it can be weaponized or used against them, and that then will prevent them from opening up to that person even more, because they can't trust them. And in a relationship, you're not just with a partner, a husband, a wife, and all that stuff, but your confidence as well. Like there's a requirement for you to go through things and keep things in the house and keep things between each other, an element of privacy. And if that person that you trust in that respect is willing to throw things back in your face as soon as they get riled up about something, then that's going to cause a very huge detriment to whatever it is you're trying to build together.
Yeah.
It's important.
Go ahead.
It's important how you deal with your trauma, because if you're managing it or keeping it, it's okay to talk about certain things, but it's your emotional attachment to it that makes a difference. Did you learn anything about it that makes it make you more practical about living, or are you still consumed with the unresolved issues?
Oh my God, the chat is on fire. It is lit, and you guys are giving some really great pointers to healing and to being healed. And I love what you guys are saying. Dee is saying, I found that people who have only experienced certain things in their lives, they cannot fully understand what certain traumas can do to a person. That's why I must lean into the source of healing. Amen. 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 And then Mimi, I think you get my prize for the most poignant so far, most poignant comment of this podcast. She says that I would share only what I'm comfortable in sharing, when and where. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Right.
We must keep that in mind. You cannot tell everything. That goes for even same-sex friends. I mean, I think we probably all, would you agree, Kimberly? We probably
Yeah.
all have experienced a same-sex friend that, a friend, and you tell them something, and before you know it, everybody in your circle is aware, even though you asked them to keep this in confidence, right?
Hmm. Yeah, it's so true. Y'all have really covered it well, and we must be reserved. I think, like, to answer these questions, you got to keep it simple because people will learn your weaknesses, your insecurities, and then, like y'all said, just use them against you. And that's not something that you just want to keep, spreading and I guess going back to. You kind of want to heal and move on. But if someone's always throwing it up in your face or reminding you of it in whatever way, it's kind of hard to just move on from it.
Right, right, exactly, exactly. So, I think they got it right. I think we're going to talk about that, but let's cover this before we wrap it up because we got to talk about this. This is so important, and I've got really interesting thoughts on this, and a lot of people are probably going to be upset with me about my thoughts and my feelings and beliefs about this. But in this date with Kira and Unique and with Quentin. So now we get Kira and Quentin alone, and Kira begins to ask Quentin about his dating preferences and if he only dates white women. What are your feelings about that, JR? Was she wrong to ask him about his preferences? And does he only because he looks like the kind of guy? She says something to this effect. I wrote this in my note. You look like the kind of guy who dates white women. What were
Right.
your thoughts about that,
I
JR?
think it's a very judgmental, critical, and shady comment to make, but you know, she felt emboldened and comfortable enough to say it, then the onus is on him and how he responds. And I think he handled it very well by not getting irate or getting mad about it, even though it was a slight for sure. Um, but she is also someone that has confused me because she has definitely said that she is the closest to white out of all of the ladies because she has white friends and she, people associate the way she speaks with more like how a white person would speak. And also, I think it was telling when she was with Maury earlier on, when she was like, "Yeah, that whole Black Power movement thing, yeah, that's not for me. I'm not in that scene. I'm not in that space." All right.
Right.
So, I think it was something that was quite self-sabotaging because, trust me, most guys do not want to be prejudged or you assume it's the fact, but it's actually not true. And if you assume that, have you actually gone back into the ladies lounge and expressed that to the other ladies, which may color their opinion of you too? So that's why I think
Yeah.
it's a shady comment. So yeah, I think it's a bit rich and hypocritical considering she comes across as someone who would love to be probably
Okay.
white herself if born again, right? So
I love what Mary 10 Years says on her podcast. She says that she calls her MAGA. She calls
yeah.
Kira MAGA. We all know what that stands for.
Yeah.
Kimberly, thank you, JR. Kimberly, what are your thoughts on this dating outside the race and a guy looking like he only dates white women or Latinas?
Yeah, that was in very poor taste on Kiara's part. She said it before in the lounge though, so I guess it was just her trying to redeem herself to say, "Oh, I was right." But I think Quentin said he had not dated white women before, if I'm not mistaken. I
Yes.
know he did say so. She was 100% wrong then, so that was good. But I
Mhm.
think it was just very risky for her to circle back to that comment because it did get the ladies riled up in the lounge when she mentioned it before. So I'm not
Mhm.
understanding why she's just stuck on this white thing, like referring to herself as being the whitest, and he only dates white ladies. So was she just trying to grab him and make him like her? I don't know. This is why I don't know why they kept her. I'm like, send her home. But they,
Yeah.
I didn't understand that part.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Very good point.
Mhm.
Calvin, you want to weigh in on this?
Yes,
Does he date white women? Question.
yes. Two things. One, she appears to be more comfortable being white than being black. She does. She
Mhm.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
She referenced that she has a lot of white friends and that she talks proper and that. But then he also dates outside. He doesn't date white women, but he is comfortable dating Hispanic women.
Mhm.
That point came up, So maybe she picked on that vibration that he is comfortable with dating outside his race. But also she's comfortable dealing with white people more so than black people seems to be the case.
Exactly.
Maybe she was raised around them more so than being a part of the black experience. Because she said, I'm not into this black power experience and all that, but she's more comfortable with her whiteness more than her blackness.
Exactly. And I would just say also, um, like the area where this show is filmed, I assume it's a very multicultural area. There are a lot of Hispanics there and things, right? As well as
Absolutely in Texas.
quite a,
Yeah, because that
exactly.
was at one point part of Mexico. Exactly.
Right, exactly. So, I don't think it's a surprise in this day and age that, you're going to school with different ethnic
Mm-hmm.
groups and different cultures. You go to university, you work with them, you're around them. So they're viable candidates for a relationship.
Mm, that's right.
um, in reality. I think she's insecure about the way she is and the way she presents herself. Um, and I think most of this notion that uh, she was coming with this question is based on the fact that she went to his Instagram and saw Instagram
Oh.
pictures of him with his clients who are white. So she assumed that
Ah.
they were girls that he was dating when they're actually just his clients. And then she went back
Oh.
into the ladies' lounge and presented it as fact that he dates white women. So that's why I'm very down on any type of judgmental and critical behavior, because you can't judge a book by its cover anyway. You take the time to get to know the person, and if they openly say, yes, I have dated outside, I have dated white, I have dated whatever, look, it's not the end of the world. If you're going to judge them on their past relationships, I get the impression that she may have actually dated white guys.
Yes,
You know,
yes. And comfortable with it.
yeah. So I think there's a certain level of double standard there. To be honest, if any,
Okay. So, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if anyone seems to act white, like like she admitted, like it's her. So
Mm-hmm.
if I think when if someone puts the question to her, have you dated outside because you seem to carry yourself a certain way, I guarantee she'll get offended.
Mm-hmm.
See, you know what? Okay, so I wanted you guys to weigh in because I wanted to come with these thoughts that I have and how I feel about this. So I can see if someone says that they didn't like the way she asked the question. I don't know, other than like she started off with, what are your preferences? What are your dating preferences? But I think maybe it was the part that offended him was that she says, you seem like the kind of guy that date white women. And I think that was maybe what offended him. And he claims in this scene that he's never dated a white woman, not even
Mhm.
one.
And why
Okay.
would he
Mm-hmm.
be on the show?
But
Why would he be on the show if there's
Yeah.
never in the history
well,
of the
now I
season
think
been-
well, JR, now okay, now we're getting into some tricky territory here because if you go back and you remember Frank's season from
yeah,
was that DC or Potomac,
yeah.
Frank
Mhm.
clearly dated outside his race because the person he brought to the show to meet his potential candidates was a white woman, right?
Of
Mm-hmm.
course,
So
but
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead because I have
now
some
I was
thoughts.
gonna say again, like just because Frank has done that, maybe that's because he's been around them and he's had the opportunity to date them.
Mm-hmm.
He's been attracted by certain women of that culture and ethnicity. But you can't just look at someone and say, well, you must date X. right? Because that's where you're
Mhm.
being judgmental, and that's the issue. He doesn't speak like Jeffrey from Fresh Prince. He doesn't speak like Colton. He's not really,
Mhm.
you know, for me, I haven't seen anything from Quentin that makes me say, okay, this guy only dates white women, or you know, I haven't seen it.
Mhm.
I haven't seen that. Maybe she has because she's seen him more than I have. Obviously, she was in close quarters with him, but I think it's a very judgmental thing to do, and that could have
Mhm.
been someone that actually liked her a little bit, which is why they're on a date together. So for her to come
Mhm.
out with that, that's definitely going to set her back behind Janelle, for example,
Mhm.
Okay,
who,
so
who
I'm
Quentin
just
also has a connection with.
I'm gonna come out here and I got some thoughts and I got some feelings and they're very very strong. So like I said, I don't have a problem with her asking about his dating preferences,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe what he's dated in the past. Because let's assume if we literally assume that we have to believe and trust that if he's on the date with her that he's attracted to her, right? So we're gonna go with that, right?
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean, so who have you dated in the past? When I asked the question about your preferences or your last girlfriend or your last relationship, what was your preference, or you know, what was she like, or what did she look like? I think for women it's quite understandable and normal for us as women to be very curious about what your last couple of relationships, what that woman looked like.
Mhm.
Do we have anything in common? You know, I
Mhm.
mean, I know myself as a woman, and I consider myself to be very secure in myself. I'm very secure and comfortable with myself. But
Mhm.
am I going to be curious as to a man that I'm really, really very interested in about who he dated in the past or what she looked like? Yes, I am going to be. Now,
Mhm.
my thing of it is, as a black woman, do I care whether she was black or white or Latino or whatever? No, I really don't.
Mhm.
I really don't care. And you know, here's the reason why. Because as a black woman, I date outside my race. Okay.
Mhm.
So, and I think what the, you know, I think the thing becomes very sticky here is that in this country and maybe throughout the world, even in other parts of the world, not just in the States, you know, in the UK, in Africa, we all have a very complicated relationship with race. Okay, so like this whole thing about her speaking like she's a white girl or a valley girl, the thing about him looking like he's the kind of black man who would date outside his race. I
Uh-huh.
say date who likes you. My mom
Yeah.
taught me love who loves you. It doesn't have a race, it doesn't have a color. I'm
Yeah.
not going to sit around waiting for anybody, black, white, or other,
Mhm.
to date me when if I'm in an eligible position, and especially before I had children and I
Mhm.
want to create a family, I'm not going to be sitting around as a black woman twiddling my thumb waiting for the next eligible black man when there's two or three a Caucasian guy over here or Latino guy over there that likes me and wants to get to
Mhm.
know me genuinely.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Not talking about a fetish. I'm not talking about a fetish because that's very important if you're dating outside your race that you understand that there are some creepy people out there that will date you just because of the color of your skin. Right.
Mhm.
Right.
But I have no problem whatsoever with him having dated white. Okay. And then coming back and dating a sister if that was the case. And I don't quite understand why he was so irritated by the fact that she asked that question because I think in this day and age where we see so many black men who do date outside their race, why wouldn't she why is he offended that she asked him that question is what I want to know.
Okay. So like I said, I think there's a difference between asking a question and you put it very eloquently and articulately. Um, but she didn't just ask him. She presumed, she judged. She said, you look like the type of, instead of, okay, so have you
Mhm.
dated outside? There's two different ways that you can ask that question. There's probably more, but there's two instances right there where it's vastly different and the reaction you get is going to be different. Have you dated outside before? Have you had any white girlfriends? Yeah, I have before. Or, no, I haven't. That's it. But when you say you look like the type of person that da 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 da, then you're throwing some level of judgment on there, and that's instantly going to get some people's backs up because that's not the same thing. All right.
Yes.
It's prejudging, and it's not cool to be on the receiving end of that. And that opens the door to the possibility that that might be how you are going further into a relationship with you. When things get when you start to get curious about things or want to know the answer to things, do you prejudge instead of just asking a question and getting a response and moving on from it?
She may
Ah,
have her own agenda.
Exactly.
yes.
And this comes
Very.
back to the whole weaponization thing. Supposing he had dated outside, dated a white lady before, you know, how is she going to handle that? Okay, like I said, she's going to go back to the women's lounge and say, "See, I told you he did. I knew it," you know. Or if they were to somehow form a connection later down the line, have an argument, for example, she going to weaponize it and say, "Oh, well, that's why the white ladies tolerate you because a black woman won't." You know, those are the type of things that can come up with that type of mentality. So it's a way, like I said, in a way, she kind of put him on notice as to how things can be, and that's definitely going to turn some people off. But like I said, he didn't get angry. He was just obviously
No, he wasn't angry. No.
Yeah, he was just obviously quite disappointed.
But he did
that,
say he was done with her, though. Now
Yeah,
you have to address that. He did at
That's
that
the end
point
of
say he
that.
was done with her.
Yeah.
And so why do
So
you
some
feel
people-
that was? He was done with her at that point because it was accusatory and not
Exactly.
mhm.
It wasn't.
It was mean spirited.
Yeah, it wasn't in good spirit. It wasn't in good faith. It was literally, you look like X, Y, and Z. You can't make those type of judgments and expect someone to want to still continue with you. If they do, that's their choice, obviously. But there are some guys who will be like, "Wait a minute, man, why are you judging me already? I only known you for 5 minutes." So if that's how you are after 5 minutes, 5 months, 5 years, man, I don't see it going well. There's other ladies here who are not judging me. They're giving me a pleasurable dating experience, and I want to get to know them. You get moved to the back of the queue.
Oh, hey, welcome in EV Reviews. It's another great content creator here, along with Wes from Stay Tuned Reviews, and of course, everyone on the panel here also has their own YouTube channel. Let's see what EV says. It's the way she asked that then she threw. Well, I have white friends, so I can say that like I'm sorry. What now? Yeah, I think she actually said she had black friends, and a couple of people here have been
She has
saying
black cousins.
she has black cousins. So that's kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
we assume that you're going to have black cousins if you're a black person.
Exactly.
That's almost like saying some of my best friends are black. You know, come on now.
Oh yeah, that burns me when a Caucasian person says, "Yeah, some of my friends." Yeah,
Exactly.
I'm like,
It would
no.
be very impressive if she had no black cousins and they were all white. Then, that would be.
Because then we would think she's probably adopted too. I think.
But she's an Oreo, and she says, "Hey, I do have black people that I know and deal with." You know, but well, they call her Oreo. She think more white than black.
Hey,
and
I
she
take
tries
offense to
qualify
that.
herself.
I take offense to that.
Well, I'm saying
Oreo
that's what
comment.
she's saying. She
Yeah.
don't want to. She don't want to project the image that I'm not black. I am black.
Yeah.
I have cousins that are black. She didn't say that I'm a part of the black experience. She just acknowledges that.
Yeah, she said that whole pro-black thing. You can miss me with that, pretty much. She's a
Yeah.
cheerleader. She does those type of things. She's not really into things that probably a lot of black people would be into, and her circle, is what it is, and if that's her experience, then that's just who her experience is. But you can't then, try and throw shade on somebody through if you suspect that they've dated outside of their race, because she's probably either thought about it or had the opportunity to do it or has done it based on the fact that all her friends are white, as she said. So, when they're going out meeting jocks at the football game or wherever they do, I guarantee she's trying to be part of the crowd. She's not trying to stand out and say, no, I don't want to mess with this stuff here. This is not what my people do. I guarantee she's not doing that. She's joining in. She's talking like them and with them and quite comfortable doing so. and when she does speak, you know, you kind of get, well, not you personally, I kind of get, you know, you sound like a Barbie type,
Valley girl, we call it here in the States.
yeah,
Valley
Valley
girl.
Girl, yeah. Can't remember the movie with, you know, like Clueless vibes. She gives me
Mhm.
Clueless movie.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. So, you know, each to their own. But I just think the judgment that she leveled was the reason why he immediately ruled himself out.
Okay. Monique
Mhm.
King, she has a wonderful comment here, quite interesting. She says, "I've been called an Oreo my entire life, and I do not
Yeah.
embrace Kira into the group." Yeah, exactly. Like
Mhm.
I get it. So I think, you know, at some point I'd like to do a panel with you guys, and we can talk a little bit more about this whole Oreo issue, the race issue, the
Mhm.
interracial dating. Would that be something that you would be willing to come back and do, you guys?
Oh yeah, for
Yes.
sure.
Thank you. And Dee makes a very relevant comment. She says that she feels like Kira's just been conditioned by her environments.
Mhm.
Don't crucify
Exactly.
the
That's
young
right.
lady. Let's educate
Exactly.
and advise, you
Exactly.
know?
Mhm.
And don't get it wrong, I'm not trying to crucify her. I actually agree. She may have been just grown, she may have grown up and worked around and went to school with, and you know, there's nothing wrong with having friends outside of your ethnicity. In fact, you
Mhm.
get to learn about other cultures, and you get to
Yes.
feel like you're not just limiting yourself to people who look like you. Code switch, and it may open up opportunities for you career wise and in life going forward by you know, being open to those type of interactions. But yeah, like I said, it's each to their own. Over here
Mhm.
there used to be a saying called coconut, like you call black people coconut if they have a
Yeah.
right on the inside. It's not used as
Mhm.
much now because we are, where I live anyway, it's a very, very diverse and multicultural hub. Like there are so many different ethnicities. You can look to the left and see one group, look ahead of you, see another group, look to the right, see another group. You know, you walk down the street, you see a whole nother set of people. It's very common. So I can only imagine what somewhere like Houston, Dallas, on the borders of Mexico is going to be like, because you're going to have a mix
Yes.
there as well.
Absolutely. I love what Evie says. She feels that she may that Kira may be the next lady to be dismissed. She's not connecting with any of the men. I
I
do see
agree.
that, and I agree.
Mhm.
Yes, I do agree. I think we all kind of agree here.
Yeah, I hope so.
Me
Yeah,
too.
and but D has a good point though too. D says, "I wish production would have fostered a better discussion on this topic of interracial dating and what do we do with, because I think if black women in this country in the States were to throw away all the black men that they meet that are single that have dated white women and said, well, oh, I don't want to date you. You dated a white woman, you dated a Latino woman. I can't do it. I don't know if there'd be anybody too much left for them to date."
There wouldn't be. Because I think that to some guys, if you're appealing to women outside of your own ethnicity, like speaking specifically about black men, from what I've seen, it's just all anecdotal evidence and through people I know, but there is a level of self confidence that comes from that, um, because you're now able to um, you don't have the fear or the how can I put it, the trepidation to go out and mingle and interact with these people because you know that some of them find you attractive. Does that make
Mm,
sense? It's
yeah,
like,
it does.
so you already have um you know, a section of people who are anti and pro black and pro this and pro that, and you
Hmm.
instantly they'll throw you away. But ultimately, like I said, sometimes life is about networking, and if you can
Mm.
connect with people outside of your demographic, then
Mhm.
it can work wonders for not only your
Mhm.
life, your friendships, your relationships, but also your career as well. So, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
if you're expecting your own community to lift you up and, you know, you're only going to meet black and live black and this black, that black, then, you know, you may actually be restricting yourself from opportunities that may be out there.
Mhm.
Yes, I do totally agree. And I feel like the interracial dating is the last frontier for Black women in this country, because Black women have already licked the education in many areas, as far as being highly educated in terms of careers and jobs. But I think that Black women fall into, many Black women, not all. I'm certainly not in that group. A lot of Black women fall into the conditioning that has been prevalent in our community, that we must stand beside Black men. I personally don't feel that standing behind Black men. My father was a Black man. My son is a Black man. I've loved Black men in my past, but I don't feel that it's necessary for me to have to feel that I can only date Black men and still be pro-Black, because I'm very pro-Black. And anybody that knows me from my college days till now knows that I'm very active in my community. I was very active in college. I was very active in bringing the Black students in college at U of M together to have a Black student union, and many years ago. But you have to understand, I think where people get bogged down in their minds is not having an open enough mind to what you just said, JR, is that in socializing and interacting, I brought my kids up. I'll just say this. I brought my kids up in understanding that they're now in their 30s. I brought my kids up to understand from a very early age, you're part of a global village. You have got to be and understand that at this stage, with technology and with travel, that we are all part of a global village. And if you stand in that part where I only believe in Black people as a Black person, or I only believe in Caucasian people as a Caucasian person, or I only believe in Latinos as a Latino person, I think that you kind of like are a little bit behind the times, and you're going to miss out on a lot of good things in life.
Exactly.
You know,
And then there's a shift going on now that's kind of forcing us to deal with each other close and personal, whether we want to or not. Across the nation, the Black community is being gentrified. So that impacts on the diversity issue right there, because I stay in a predominantly Black area that is really changing almost overnight. And now there's white people that are in my neighborhood now. There was not in my neighborhood 5 years ago.
Coming from church, I'm telling you, I know exactly where you speak of, and I'm telling you that is so true. That area is being eaten up by people that are coming in with the resources, and they're saying, you know what? This is the center of Detroit. This is the center hub. We've got a great school, UAD Jesuit, which is a top-notch, well-renowned preparatory school for young men. I know.
And the irony of it is that they're more comfortable in our neighborhood than what we are.
Oh yeah, because you know what? Because they know you're not going to harm them. They know that you're not going to harm them. That's the last thing. That's the last person you want to cause harm to in America is a Caucasian person. If you're
but they exhibit a comfort level that we don't. They walk down the street hand in hand. They're walking down the street with a buggy pushing their children. Yeah, they're more. I'm saying they're comfortable with a community that we are not comfortable with. That shows that we have been adversely impacted by the experience. So we have to change the narrative of how we live with ourselves. So they're showing us something that we need to be reminded of.
Well, you know, and that's an interesting observation that you're making, because one of the things that happened years ago when my kids were young, well, I just had the one child and then the second one came along later, but living in the suburbs versus in this area, living in the city in some places can seem like a huge, I mean, like you can go from, let's say, 7 Mile in Detroit, go over 1 mile to 8 Mile and cross over into the suburban side of 8 Mile, right? North side. And one of the things that one of my friends was saying early on was, I feel so comfortable when we walk down the streets. You know, it's different here than it is in Detroit.
Yes.
That's what you're speaking of, right, Calvin?
That's right. It's alarming that
That's interesting.
The media plays a part in it, but there's a dynamic that we must address about being comfortable within our own skin. You know, so we have to really go to another level of understanding and be more loving and kind, and don't think you're a chump or a punk, because you are. We have to. It's just time for change, and part of the change comes from dealing with people based upon their character more than their color,
Mm,
even for us.
wow. Mimi, this is sad to me. This is sad that you're saying that you and your sibling are the only ones who dated outside their race and you've gotten thrown under the bus for it. I don't understand that. I truly don't. But I want to invite you back because we're going to have this conversation, a conversation outside of Ready to Love and in real life in real time about what we think about dating outside of our race and some of the other issues that come along with interracial dating, having biracial children, and the
Hmm.
likes, because those are all comments and thoughts and things that that I really want to share with you guys and want to see what
Hmm.
your experiences are and what you feel and think about it, because that's sad to me that anyone would throw anyone under the bus for their dating choice. I don't understand that. But guys, so as we wrap it up, we come to we're now in the gentleman's lounge, and the names that the men are mentioning in connection with who are their connections, they're saying Janelle name comes up frequently from various men. Katarina's name comes up. Lee's name comes up. Herbert even says that he likes that Janelle says exactly how she feels. Um, I'm not sure if I really believe that he buys that, but that's what he says. That's what's coming out of his
Hmm.
mouth, the words that are coming out of his mouth. But now, on the other hand, the men, the women that the men are not connected to include Kira. We just talked about Kira with the question about the race and white women. Unique. And even Janelle name even comes up because who is it? I think JR, was it Phil that brought Janelle's name up in conjunction with her not returning phone calls?
I think it was. I think it was.
Mm-hmm. I believe
Um,
so. Mm-hmm.
can't remember.
And yeah, it's okay. Okay, and so then we see at the end we see the dates. We see the two elimination dates. Unique meets up with Marvin, and Kira meets up with Marie. Interestingly enough,
Hmm.
um, and what what happens next is we find out that Unique is eliminated. Did they make the right choice, you guys?
Yeah,
Because of where they are or are not emotionally dealing with Unique, they probably did make the best choice because they're not ready to deal with her unresolved issues with her trauma.
Right. I agree. I agree with you,
Mhm.
Calvin. And thank you. I appreciate that. What do you say, JR?
I think it's probably a very close call, but Unique didn't seem to have any connections other than Marvin. So just the numbers game for me would have put her down there. Not saying that I see any connections, particularly with Kira either, but
Hmm.
I think um, I think the hardest thing was probably watching Marvin do it, especially after they shared a kiss. You know, they could have got someone else to do it, but ultimately, I just didn't see her connecting with enough people for me to feel like it was an unjust exit. So, yeah, I agree with it. And the irony is, she went home exactly the same time as Red. So now they both gone. So let's see what happens next. You know, where they're going to get the next drama from.
Exactly. Where are we going to get that next spark of drama from? What about you, Kimberly?
I think they should have sent Kiara home, especially with her comments related to just Black culture. I think she said it was being offensive and just her whole vibe. She's not really connecting with anyone. She tried to connect with was it Marvin at first, and then she found something she didn't like about him, and then it was Marie, and now she doesn't like him. So I think they should have saved Unique a little longer and just sent her Kiara home.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because we could have kept her around and seen maybe a little bit more about is
Mhm.
she really healed or are the guys just uncomfortable dealing with emotion? Because
Mhm.
part of that could be that they are uncomfortable dealing with a woman's emotions. You know how, JR, you know how you guys get whenever women around you cry? You guys are like, don't cry. Like, like if you really want to make a guy uncomfortable, just start crying because he's like, no, don't cry,
Mhm.
don't cry.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah, so but guys, I don't know what's coming up next, but there's going to be some more drama. We know that. We know that there's already looking like Chris number 2, Christopher is already talking to one of the ladies talking about if he can't buy her $50,000 bag, is she going to dump him or is she going to stand with him, if they're a couple.
Well,
And
yeah,
so
she actually did say that she would like her man to buy her that. And then his comment was, "What? You think like
Mhm.
I'm gonna buy you that now? Like that's crazy.
mm,
We just met, you know." So uh
that's pretty crazy, a $50,000 bag. And you're talking about like, I don't know what any of these people earn, but to me, if you're not earning more than 50,000, why are you buying a $50,000 bag?
Mhm.
I don't get it.
but there's a saying that one of I think it was my one of my relatives, like one of my elders, and they used
Hmm.
to say, listen, if you can't buy something twice, if you can't afford to buy it twice, don't buy it once.
Mhm.
And
Ooh.
if you're buying something like a Birkin, it's not even for yourself, and you're spending 50K. I'm not sure there's many guys on in these ready to love streets that have that type of
Yeah.
disposable income where they can do that and then still be expected to pay the bills, provide, take care of themselves.
Right. Keep the lights
And
on even, right?
exactly, some of these
Is that
guys,
investment or just frivolous stuff to buy? I mean, if you
Frivolous.
invest in stuff that's
Just
generating
frivolous
money,
IG stuff. Just frivolous. Just
yeah,
frivolous.
yeah, yeah. It has no value. Once you take it out of the store, what value do it have? I mean,
exactly,
you got $50,000 in your pocket, you have a $50,000 purse.
right. And she's in fashion, so she knows. I think she's a fashion designer or something like that. So she knows the
Hmm.
value of these things, and it may be the it thing to have. It may be the latest trend or whatever, or a
Right.
sign of what your man is potentially willing to spend on you. But ultimately, not like I said, from what from the reports we see, there's tough times for people in uh, America as well as here in the UK financially. There's like the foreclosures, there's unemployment, there's all these
Yeah.
different things. Cost of living, cost of
Mhm.
food. The last thing someone who's uh, you know making ends meet or doing fairly well from themselves, the last thing they want to do is start spending money frivolously at this particular period of time. The disposable
Ooh,
income just isn't there.
say that because, if you know, like I know, like for real, you guys thought we went through a whole uh panini. You know what I'm talking about? That C-19 thing that's been
Yep.
going on now for 3 years basically, and
Uh-huh.
then now we can't even breathe our air. I don't know if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys
Mhm.
are suffering with the air quality that here in the States we've been suffering with from Canada, but like
Mhm.
it seems like every time you turn around, there is something more serious and more serious that is causing chaos in our universe.
Mhm.
Right.
So, but with that being said, I just want to go. Next to me is Kimberly. Kimberly, tell us what you got going on your channel and
Mhm.
how people can find you. I'm going to find that and put that up on the screen as you tell us about what you have going on your
Mhm.
channel.
Thank you. Yes, so on my channel, we do the live watch each Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time of Ready to Love. So we'll watch and chat on your own device and we'll just catch up and point out things that we may miss watching it along. So it's a good fun time over there. I also post my travels. I love traveling here domestically and internationally. And I also believe in being debt free. So I love the conversations about debt freedom and spending your money wisely, but also paying yourself like a bill. So thank you so much for the support.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you. And Kimberly, yes, she is an accountant, so she knows from when she speaks. And Kimberly,
Yes.
would you advise someone, let's say making 125 a year, would you advise them to invest in a $50,000 bag?
Oh no, nope. I would say if you can't pay cash for it, leave it alone.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, we heard from Kimberly. Thank you for that, Kimberly. And JR, would you tell us about your channel and what's going on over there at JRX TV?
Yeah, thank you. JRX TV is me, myself, and I. T giving my thoughts and perspectives on a range of issues that arise from reality TV shows, specifically Black love reality TV shows. Because obviously, being a Black man myself, navigating the YouTube streets and having had some dating experience and been in relationships and things like that, I like to see the Black love aspect shine through, and hopefully we can see more of that. I collaborate with actually Aubrey, as you're watching right now, as well as a couple of others. But the perspectives still remain the same. They remain my points of view only. I'm not swayed by any tears or anything like that I see, or any rants or anything like that. I just give my perspective, and hopefully, if you like mine or any of my fellow collaborators' perspectives on any of these issues, you like, share, and subscribe. Not just myself, but anybody that I collaborate with too.
Well, all right, all right, all right. Where's my thank you for that, JR. And last but not least, Calvin, tell us about your channel and what you'll be doing over there.
Well, first of all, thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this panel of discussion topics of love. Mostly I'm on Facebook, but I'm shifting now to
Instagram.
Instagram as well as YouTube. My theme centered around empowerment from a spiritual perspective and realizing just how dynamic you are and can be. I have written the book, Be You Transformed by the Renewal of the Mind, because I know the most important part of you is how you think, because you think about something all day long, but what you think about is the key. Because you can be held captive by your imagination or liberated by it. But the most important thing that you can do is be in tune with your greater self. But that requires work and going to another level of understanding, appreciation of yourself. That's why I'm really impressed with this theme of ready to love, because if you're ready to love, then you should love yourself. And it's time
I
for
like
change.
that.
It's time for
Yes,
change.
yes.
Yeah. So I'm working on my next project, which I consider volume 2 of the first book, Rise Above the Human Eclipsation of Life. In other words, rise above the things that impede your walk of faith. Because after all, we're dynamic and we have been limiting ourselves when we really should focus on just what we can be instead of what we are. It's time for change.
Time for change. Time. Would you say, Calvin, time for transformation?
And renewing of the mind. The mind, the most important part of our being, because the mindset that we have, it determines how we navigate through life, because we have been a victim for so long, become our norm. Really, we are victorious without even realizing or honoring. We owe it to those that preceded us to go forward something new and different, because this is a different world that we're witnessing now. This is the information age. We have
Yes.
so much information now that can change our life that we didn't have access to as recent as 5 years ago. So I
Yeah,
dare you limit
absolutely.
yourself now. This is the best time to be on this planet.
There you go.
Mm.
Long as you don't have to breathe the air or catch any germs,
Yeah.
you're gonna be
Ooh,
okay.
yes.
Amen. Well, guys, we're going to say goodnight and we're going to excuse ourselves. We have enjoyed this. Thank you, Derica.
Yeah.
This has been a great conversation. And you guys
Yeah.
have been a great in the chat. Hope everybody has had an opportunity to click that like button. If you haven't already, please be sure to do so and make sure you're subscribed and you have your notifications on. And with that, we'll see you guys soon. Say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Take care.